Hello, gentlemen. It's Sunday night or Sunday morning for you guys. Welcome to my Sunday live stream. It's a nipply -10 in Ukraine tonight. How are you guys doing there? It's coldest day of the year so far in Ukraine. Went out for a nice brisk walk earlier. So you guys are in for a real cliffhanger today. Our topic is Ukraine's hidden love trap. Talk about taboo topics that really, people, the industry sweeps under the carpet, albeit one of the most important issues that you really need to be aware of, as our special guest coming up will attest to that. So just imagine for a moment, what would you do if you're in the K1 visa process, actually it gets all approved, right? And you're set for your wife to come, or your future wife, to come to America or whatever country and be with you, start your life together. And then you find out that your fiance legally cannot leave Ukraine with her child because of the ex-husband. He won't give permission, which is required for the child to go. Obviously, she can't go alone. So you guys are stuck apart, worlds apart, in love, about to get married. I mean, talk about a cluster, right? Well, today you'll meet Josh. He's 56 from Virginia, and he's engaged to 36-year-old Yana from Poltava. He's gonna really get raw and real with us and share, what this nightmare story that he's currently living is like as him and his fiance go through the K1 process. And we're gonna show you, most importantly, how, some simple screening questions that you can use to avoid getting into this situation with a single mom, right from the get-go before you fall in love. There are some simple ways you can do that. We're going to share that with you, as well as Josh is going to really enlighten us what the law says in Ukraine about this situation, and maybe even it's Ukraine, some other ways of solving this problem. We'll get into that as well, okay? Now, first, my beautiful wife, Anna, my Anyachka, asked me to do her a favor. In her live stream yesterday, she spoke about the top 5 differences between Ukrainian and American families. And if you guys missed that, you definitely want to watch it. It's some really good stuff. I've included the link in the description below this video. So, yeah. So there's basically a dirty little secret that she asked me to share with you that she was a little bit shy to share, okay? So here goes. When she was growing up in her, in the house, as they call her, the building in Belgrade-Nostrovsky in the south of Ukraine, they had a family friend, I think on the 5th floor. And so here's how the story goes. It was Elaine and Timur. So Elena says to her husband Timur one morning over breakfast, Tim, if I die, would you remarry quickly? And he said, oh my God, like, what kind of question is that? We're having, beautiful, morning breakfast, the sun is shining, and you ask me such a horrid question. Like, what an appalling question. I'm not going to answer that. And he thought it would blow over. But at dinner that same night, she asked, the same question, if I died, would you remarry? And he's like, come on, you're just ruining the evening now with such a question. What is that? So, he thought it would blow over. But a week later, guess what? Elena asks again, Timur, if I died, would you remarry? He says, okay, you know what? Yeah, I would remarry. I would remarry. And she says, really? Well, would you sell the house? He said, would I sell a house? Like, what's with the question? I mean, it's a nice house. I don't know why I would sell a house. No, I guess not. Well, would you sell our bed? Well, sell our bed. Oh man, sell our bed. No, I mean, it's a nice bed, comfortable bed. No, I guess not. I mean, why would I sell the bed? Well, then she says, well, tell me you wouldn't let her use my tennis racket, right? And he looks at her and says, no, why would I do that? She's left-handed. So it's begs the point that in Ukraine, adultery is a lot more commonplace than it is in the West. Take it from me, living here for 4 years, it is that is true. So it's a plus between a Western, it's a plus of a Western family as opposed to a Ukrainian family. Okay, since the 5 differences. Okay, so let's see, announcements. You guys have been asking about this background right here. So the scoop on it is, this is our #1 design choice for our new home, which we're hopefully breaking ground this summer, early summer, to build it. It's right on the Black Sea. So this is about what it's going to look like. And yeah, we are building a Canadian quality standards subdivision. And if you guys would like to know more about possibly being our neighbor, just shoot me an email and I'd be happy to talk to you about the details. We met on Friday with the architect and the developer for about a half a day, going over all the details. And this is our #1 choice. So yeah, that's a little bit on that. Joe at matchguarantee.com if you want to talk to me about the possibilities of buying one of the units in our subdivision right on the Black Sea here. Later today, for the very first time, so today, January 17th, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, we have a special guest who's coming on live from his home in America. And he's a client of Match Guarantee. He's gonna share his experience going through the K1 visa process with his Ukrainian fiance during COVID, and comparing the K1 visa process versus the CR1 spousal visa process. And he's really dug deep in it. He has his personal experience that he's gone through. So he has graciously offered to answer all your questions. So you guys that are, wondering about which is better to go right now, because COVID kind of changed it a little bit, which is the better process to go through right now. And yeah, invaluable resource if you are a guy that's looking into that possibility. Okay, so that's again tonight, Sunday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, you're welcome to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss that, and YouTube will notify you. And then next Saturday, January 23rd at 10 a.m. Eastern, as always, Ask Anna will be back live talking about what Ukrainian women really think about credit and mortgages. Guys, this is invaluable stuff. Why specifically is because our very own Anastasia, she went on the streets and asked girls this question, all kinds of really tricky questions about mortgages. And one of the questions she asks is, if your man has a mortgage, more than 50% loan to value, would you even marry him? And you'd be shocked what some of these ladies say. And the reason it's actually a deal breaker, believe it or not, for a lot of good girls. I'm talking good girls here, not scamsters and stuff like that. Just safety and security is the #1 need of every Ukrainian girl. And if you guys are going to be successful, you have to understand that. And this is a very tricky question, because even though you're renting a nice place in the States, you got to understand what they think about that. Or if you have a mortgage, what they think about that. And Anna will play the street video and answer all you guys' burning questions. Okay. Then Sunday, January 24th, I'll be back and we'll kick off our Ukraine marriage challenge, which is basically where we compare the do-it-yourselfers. You'll go head to head against marriage agency guys. And this is guys that we're, successful, married, or at least at the K1 stage with a Ukrainian woman. So who best to ask this question about budget and, how did you do it, is by people that have been there, done that, right? So yeah, that is the purpose, just, of the marriage agency challenge. It's also a lot of you guys that are really wondering, out there, can I afford this? Because there's all kinds of misinformation on the internet, up to it costs $100,000, so what does it really cost, and can you afford it? A lot of you guys are wondering that. And so we're embarking on this challenge to get, the real skinny on this thing. I mean, the numbers don't lie at the end of the day, right? Although it's difficult to get real honest numbers on this. So we figured, let's invite couples on to tell their story. Either can be our couples, can be other couples from other agencies, can be DIY couples that just, met on the street or over a cappuccino in Kiev, whatever. Anybody is welcome to join in on our marriage agency challenge. The more, the merrier. The more numbers, the more couples we have, the more accurate will be our number, right? The better the statistics on it. So, yeah, we have, on that note, we've already launched a live poll. So you can go vote now on this question. Which do you think is the best way to find your beautiful Ukrainian wife? So that poll is on a link in the description below this video, or it's on the community tab on our YouTube channel. So you're welcome. Please do go and vote over there. It was about 320 votes already on that thing. But yeah, it'd be great if you could vote over there. Now, to get, I'm going to say, yeah, just following some of my notes here. Yeah, do you guys know of any married couples that you could vote, that you could invite in on the marriage challenge, Ukraine marriage challenge? Please do. If you know any couples, Ukrainian lady and Western man, foreign man, if you could forward them this video and give them my email address, I would love to hear from them, talk to them, and definitely invite them into our marriage, Ukraine marriage challenge. Okay, we've already interviewed 2 agency couples that are entered into the Ukraine marriage challenge. William and Lilia, you guys saw the video, and Steve and Irina. You've seen their love story interview video. And by the way, both of those videos are in the description below this video. They're actually in the Google Docs link attached. So you can click at the Google Docs link in the description below this video, and you can see the actual budgets of not only just these 2 marriage guarantee couples, but an itemized budget of what they spent, to find each other. Mostly what William and Steve spent. And then also Josh, who's joining us today. He's our first DIY guy who did it himself. And he's engaged in the K1 process, and he has shared his expense budget with us. And that's also in the Excel spreadsheet. There's 2 tabs, agency and DIY. And so that tab will be dynamic. It will keep growing as we have more and more couples enter, and we'll keep averaging the number, what it costs them to make it to K1 and to get married. Okay. So, success tips. So in this series, I want to also, regardless of whether, you're an agency guy or a DIY guy, this isn't so much raw match guarantee as it is, I'm trying to make this, just as unbiased as possible, representation of the different paths, the different ways the guys can be successful, and analyze the 3 main factors. And that's dollars, how much it costs you on this journey, how much time it costs you, because after all, time is more expensive, more invaluable than money, and then heartbreak hotel. Did you get your heart broken in the process? And we're going to endeavor to compare all avenues of meeting your other half in Ukraine, and see as unbiased as possible, give advice to guys out there that are looking to make this tricky decision. Okay. Now, on this process, in this video, and as we continue rolling this out in the marriage challenge, we're going to give tips, out of the box tips, I'm calling it, okay, to help you be successful, regardless if it's agency or DIY. Okay, so let's start by checking out a story of one do-it-yourselfer named Aaron, and you'll glean a big tip on how to meet girls on your own in Ukraine from his story. So get out the popcorn, enjoy this little short clip, and I'll see you back here in 2 minutes.
A lot of you guys ask me, what are my chances to actually come to Ukraine without using an agency and just hit the streets and meet some ladies? Right. Well, we're about to find out. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what you're up to here.
I've never been in this country. I'm 49 years old, and I came to see an experience firsthand, offer these flowers to the beautiful Ukrainian women and see their reaction and have their feedback, and eventually, if it can end up to an exchange of phone number or email, I'm looking forward.
Ultimately, that's the end game.
I want to offer you a flower because you're very beautiful. I'm in Sumy for the past 2 weeks. I'm tourist and it's my first time. I wanted to meet Ukrainian beautiful ladies, but I was a little bit shy. I didn't know how to approach them.
So you gave out 20 beautiful white roses today.
Yes.
You did well. How was the experience for you? Would you recommend it, to other guys out there?
Absolutely, I recommend it. I think it was very positive. This is something that is absolutely out of extraordinary. Something like this would not happen to you in the streets of Washington, D.C., New York, or anywhere in the United States. And hopefully this video is going to trigger something in the mind of a lot of wonderful guys who are alone there. Like me, I was alone for 12, 13 years. And that just don't feel alone anymore. This is the great place to come and meet people.
Why would any man in America be alone when this country is full of the most amazing, beautiful, smart, sexy, educated, traditional value ladies,
Yes.
right? But the guys need to know they need to get off their ass, get off the
Yes.
couch,
Yes.
and come here, right?
Yes.
Hey guys, so are you curious about how Aaron really did at the end of the day on his Sumy Street pickup challenge? Okay, let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth, as they say. You gave your phone number, but you didn't get any phone numbers.
No, I did not. No. I gave my phone number.
Yeah. You gave your phone number, but you didn't get one phone number. Did you ever get a call from any of the ladies?
No, I did not.
So, and you need to know that that's what the women here predominantly do. They will say, "Give me your phone number," and it's their
Right.
slagging you off,
Right.
Because in Ukraine culture, they don't want to be rude to anybody.
Right.
They're very sensitive this way, so it's their way of not hurting your feelings.
Exact.
Because you were giving a lot of roses to really young girls.
Right.
Right.
I did that. It's priceless. I mean, there's no price that you can put and compare to get someone out of the solitude life, which is totally depressive, which is not cool to live every day. Now, once you have a hope inside, it's just gonna grow every day, and you cannot stop it anymore. That is priceless. This is something that it's not an advice, but it's my personal experience to share with those who have been alone for a very long time. It's not the end of the world. And if I can make it, you can make it. You just have to book the ticket and come over, period. That's it.
Hey guys. So, yeah, that's some advice for DIY guys that I have for you guys. That you see, Aaron came to Sumy and we did this challenge with him. He wasn't a match guarantee client. He was just really wanting to scope out Ukraine, see if he could do it himself. And he learned a lot of things. And what this street pickup challenge did, or really it's a give out roses on the streets exercise, right? What it did for Aaron is it really bolstered his confidence. And if you do this, I strongly recommend any guy that comes here, give out, go buy one flower, one white or pink rose, and go give it to one lady at a time. Better to you don't have a handful of roses. You look like a factory that way. It's not quite so personal, but just take one rose and give it to her. And even if there's no expectation in return, you'll put a smile on her face. It will boost your confidence. You'll find that, which is really hugely important if you're going to DIY, if you're going to do it yourself. You know, how are you going to meet ladies? You want to meet attractive ladies. So you have to boost your confidence level so you can approach. So I strongly recommend that. It's great advice. But at the end of the day, as you heard from Aaron, you know, he didn't actually get phone numbers. He didn't get one phone number, even though we gave out 20 roses. He was playing a little bit catch and release instead of catch and keep. The girls were too young. So lots to be learned there. He did go home empty-handed on his own. But still, you know, he had fun. He did have a catch and release relationship. And as I understand, he's still waiting to come back. So with COVID and everything. So, okay, let's move ahead here. We're going to introduce Josh in just a few minutes. But beforehand, let me just give you a success tip for guys that are coming with the help of a marriage agency. Okay. So when I was in the dating trenches before I met my Anya, I learned, you know, the hard way. I only had one relationship with what I would say, you know, kind of a bad apple, but I mean, somebody that didn't really have the ethical fabric that I look for in my spouse, because we were in a relationship and she flew away to get married. So that wasn't exactly honest. But other than that, the relationships I've had, they've all been good people, you know. And so how did I find them? I mean, I did a lot of dating in the dating trenches. And of course, I developed a system. So I'm going to share one of my big tests with you. The first point is that, you know, everybody shows their true colors in time, right? But if you rush it too quickly, you might not see the true colors if you don't give it enough time. So you want to shortcut that time to get to know somebody by testing. And when I say testing, I'll show you what I mean. One of my litmus tests was to go on the first date, and towards the end part, maybe the end quarter of the date, then I would just say, you know, bring up the topic of where we would live in the future. And I say, you know, I work and live in Ukraine because they know I'm Canadian. And that way I can see, was there chemistry beforehand? Did she like me? Did I get a vibe from her before I dropped that bomb question? And did it change after? And I got to tell you, I had some dramatic, obvious fails to that litmus test. I remember one, you know, she was hopping across the table to take selfies with me. I mean, she was totally into me. And she had picked a really expensive restaurant. That was before I learned my own, you know, lessons to choose the restaurant. And whatever you do, don't let her strong arm you into choosing the restaurant, which is kind of what happened with this gal. And as soon as I said, you know, no, I live and work in Ukraine, she was like, paka paka, see you later. So, you know, that's just one of many litmus tests that you need to have regardless of however you meet the lady. You know, you still have to be discerning, it doesn't matter how you meet her, through an agency, on the street, in cafe, however, you have to be smart about the dating process here. Okay, so that's my agency tip for you guys. So without further ado, let's bring in our special guest right now, who is a do-it-yourselfer. He's got one heck of a dilemma he's facing right now, and he's been, like I say, courageous enough to share it with us. And what we're really hoping is that maybe somebody out there also has some experience, some wisdom that will help him through his situation, which he's trying to get through right now. Okay, so I'll just pull in Josh here. Hey, Josh. Welcome.
Hey, good morning or good evening, Joe. How are you?
Good. How's it in DC?
Good. Things could be better for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But in fact, I might need to talk to you about one of those ADESA investments if things keep going the way they are now here.
Yeah, it's amazing, the mass exodus that's heading out of America right now, or certainly from the big cities to the smaller communities anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was just kind of kidding about the political situation and what's happening downtown, but hopefully things will get better. we'll get
Yes, yes.
back on track.
Hopefully, hopefully. So thanks for coming in,
Yes.
Josh. We really appreciate it on behalf of everybody
welcome.
watching, and I think the thousands that will watch this video after live. So I guess the first thing is, can you explain to guys, because I'm doing this Ukraine marriage challenge, comparing do-it-yourselfers and agencies, and comparing the numbers, what the costs were for guys. So it's important. How did we meet? If you could just go over that. How did you and I first meet? When and how?
We met, I believe it was about 3 weeks to a month ago, and we met because I've been an avid follower of your streamcast. And even though I haven't been a client, and you know, hopefully I won't be, but
yeah,
for
hopefully
reasons
not.
that I want my current situation to be successful. But I do follow your streamcast because I learn a lot, just about primarily about the transition that the ladies have to make. You know, as you're leaving Ukraine, or in some cases Russia, coming to the USA or Canada. And I get a lot of tips from it, so it's interesting to you know, to hear what other guys' experiences are and so forth. So
Cool. Yeah, we just met out of the blue on WhatsApp, and again, thank you very much, because you know, you'd be surprised how many guys I asked to join me live and just talk about whatever situation, you know, just to help other guys, because at the end of the day, us guys forming, you know, a Ukraine tribe kind of thing, and sharing as men, it's more helpful than anything else when you hear another man's story. So thanks
yeah,
again.
for sure. I think the more information that guys can get, the better off they are, and you know, the less hurdles they'll have to cross, and you know, fewer mistakes. Yeah, the other thing is, I believe I had posed a question to you regarding my get some legal advice from you on regarding my K1 situation. So that's what kind of started our initial connection. You were kind enough to give me some advice, and you know, here we are.
Yeah, because you know, I was saying to you, I had a serious relationship, and then I was in the exact same boat you are, from a woman from Poltava, same town as yours. So I dug into it too. So we can share on that in just a bit here.
Sure.
So to get going here, are you share, maybe if you could share a little bit about your story. Are you a do-it-yourself guy? You went alone, or did you have the help of an agency of sorts, or maybe a little bit on your background, please?
No, I've definitely been a do-it-yourselfer, and I've been doing it, so to speak, for about a little bit over 4 years now. And currently I'm in a relationship that's been ongoing for almost 2.5 years. And prior to that, I spent about 2 years getting to that point. When I say getting to that point, I'd met with about 5 or 6 ladies from Ukraine, from Belarus, and also quite a few from Russia. So about 2.5 years ago, I was fortunate enough to meet Yana, and things so far are quite good. And she's my fiance, and we're in the process of trying to make the K1 happen.
Great, great. Can you share a little bit about how you met Yana, and maybe about the courtship process, or whatever you want to share?
Yeah,
Like,
sure. I mean,
how did you meet a good girl outside of an agency kind of thing?
well, I'd always kind of been a proponent of the free websites. So there are a couple that I was using, and I had read many things online about the PPL sites, and everything pointed me to definitely steer away from them for the reasons that you've enumerated on many occasions. I just saw that guys were just funneling, in some cases tens of thousands of dollars, and at the end of the day, getting nowhere. So my approach was to pursue meeting ladies through free sites. And initially what I wanted to do was cast a broad net, try to talk to as many as I could. And when I say many, probably initially when I started, I had communications with 20 to 30, and I had my own sort of vetting process of just chatting with them, and then if the chats seemed sincere and legitimate, then I would ask them to come online. We'd use Skype or Viber or WhatsApp. And from 30, I kind of narrowed that down to probably about maybe 6 to 10, and just kept in communication with those ladies for a period of time. And then that 6 turned into maybe 3 or 2. And as you mentioned a few moments ago, the more you communicate with the lady, the easier it is to determine whether or not she's sincere or not, because it works both ways. Initially, everybody has a certain mask on; they're presenting themselves a certain way, and everything's rosy and peachy. Maybe for the first few weeks of communication, but it's kind of hard to carry on that facade over the course of a month or 2 months. So over time, you get to really see what the person is about. So I went through that vetting process, and I went through a few iterations of that. And each time I found someone that I was interested in actually going ahead and meeting. So I made about, it's in my spreadsheet, I think about 8 trips. No, actually, it was more than that. Probably closer to 10. But anyway, I would meet the woman. I went to Siberia a few times. I was in Moscow. I was in Kiev quite a bit to meet Yana. But as far as the other ladies would go, what would happen in most cases is that after, maybe on the first meeting or maybe the second meeting, you would have a pretty good idea as to whether or not they were, legitimate prospects, and whether there was a connection, a mutual connection. And like any new relationship, unfortunately, the odds are against you, whether you're meeting somebody in the USA or Canada or going to Europe to meet them. People click or they don't click for a number of reasons. So out of the first 6 ladies that I met, there was one lady in particular in Siberia that things went really well with. We established a relationship for almost a couple of years. And I initially thought that she would be the one, but the events happened, and that didn't work out. She decided that she didn't want to immigrate to the USA. She was more comfortable staying with her family, and also she had some very complicated financial issues that kind of prevented her from immigrating, because essentially the government wasn't going to let her leave without paying a certain some taxes, and that was prohibitive. So all those things together kind of caused our relationship to cease. After that, I met Yana. We also met on a free site. I moved a little bit faster than I usually do, and after about 1 month of meeting, we decided to go to Paris, meet in Paris. Things went very well in that initial meeting. She invited me to visit her in Ukraine. So after that, I went to Kiev. Things continued to get progressively better. So I decided to invite her to Mexico. This would have been a couple of years ago. And the rest is history. We recently actually came back from Mexico about 3 weeks ago, and everything's been going fairly well. But we have had some challenges relative to her personal situation with her child, and I think you're probably going to ask me about that. But anyway, in a nutshell, that's kind of my history. In terms of
thanks for sharing. Just a little bit about, can you share with guys what was your cost before, like cost financially and time-wise before you met Yana, and then now cost since you met Yana, both financially and time-wise?
Before I met Yana, believe I spent a little bit over $20,000. That was, primarily costs associated with the travel efforts. And in terms of time, probably a few months if I were to, probably a few months over those 2 years. I would say maybe 2 to 2.5 months of travel related time.
During a period of was 2.5 years,
Of
right?
about roughly 2 years.
Roughly 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And then just while you're sharing, and then guys, this is what the spreadsheet looks like. Okay. There's 2 tabs at the bottom. You see the spreadsheet in a Google Docs link in the description below. So there's 2 tabs, a marriage agency tab where guys have shared the story there. Right now it's 2 match guarantee clients. And then there's the do-it-yourself tab, and Josh is the first one in there. So you're welcome to click over there and take a look at the detailed breakdown. And then how about since meeting Yana?
Since meeting Yana, I believe my overall costs are probably in the range of about $25,000. That would primarily be because of travel expenses once again, and both going to Ukraine and a few vacations that we've had together.
Right. So it sounds like all in. So since you've decided to embark on this journey, sounds like 4.5 years and $45,000.
Yes. And until I talked to you and you provided me the spreadsheet to kind of enumerate a lot of those expenses. Honestly speaking, I had no idea that I had spent that much, and I was a little bit shocked when I put everything together.
Yeah, it chisels away at you. I mean, that's life, right? Something that takes 4.5 years,
for sure,
it chisels away at you. Yeah. So, okay, thanks for sharing that. And then, let's get into the juicy part of your dilemma right now. And maybe you can share your story a little bit. I'll share my story a little bit, and then we'll talk about the legalities and the options to solve this problem. And guys, please, at this point, please hold back your questions, other than questions directed at Josh directly. About this process. I mean, we'll give priority to guys asking questions about, what are the options, what to do. So could you share your story about her child and what's happening?
Sure. Yeah, she was married. She does have a young daughter, and honestly speaking, until we were well into the relationship, I hadn't even thought about broaching that subject about whether or not she had full custody and full rights to immigrate to another country with the child. That actually came up on our recent trip to Mexico, because we went collectively. We took that trip as a family, and she did have to go to her ex to get permissions, for the child to leave the Ukraine to make the trip.
Yeah.
So obviously, with that experience, I began to think ahead and thought about, how that was going to impact the K1 process. And then I did a little bit of research on that, and I believe I posed a few questions on in one of your live chats. And after that, I began to just focus primarily on that, trying to figure out what ways there would be to go ahead with that. So I spoke with her about it, and she obviously confirmed that she would need approval from the ex to relinquish, essentially relinquish his rights of custody, allowing the child to leave. And I asked her what the likelihood of that happening was, and she said that she wasn't sure. Initially, she figured probably about 50-50. As we delved into it more, it turns out I found a little bit more. She's a little bit guarded in terms of talking a lot about the prior relationship. She hasn't really asked me a lot about mine, and she didn't really get into a lot of the nitty gritty about their breakup. But it turns out that she instigated the breakup, and so there was some acrimony from on his side. So once I found that out, I realized, well, perhaps he's not going to be so quick to sign these legal documents. And it turns out that was the case. So we spoke with a couple of lawyers, and both of them gave us several options. They spoke about going through the legal process, the standard legal process in the Ukraine, and that her case would be based solely on the fact that the husband hasn't been a provider to the child for these 3 years, as they were, since their divorce. And that would present a very good case for her to proceed. But the caveat there is that none of the lawyers could tell us exactly how long this process would take. They were saying it could take from maybe 3 or 4 months to the better part of a year, or maybe even longer. Who knows? They also presented another option, and that was to take advantage of the Ukrainian legal system. I'm not going to go into the details there, but I guess there are ways around the process that involve money, and they were saying that that's a possibility too. So what I thought about was, well, what if? I mean, if we're going to have to shell out more money potentially above and beyond the standard legal cost, what if we made an offer to the ex, essentially buying him out, for lack of a better phrase, and that would streamline the process. Instead of things happening in upwards of a year, perhaps we'd circumvent a lot of that, and of course, there'd be a financial burden on my part, but there'd probably be a lot less stress, going through the whole legal process. So the good news, since we last spoke, Joe, is that we pursued that, and we did come to an agreement. So all of that has actually been worked out. And as of Friday, we actually have a legal document that's been notarized, and everything has been solved. So, yeah.
So you, just to be clear, you bought off the ex. That was the solution.
Bought off the ex. Yeah, and from an ethical standpoint, it kind of disturbed me a little bit, but because I from my standpoint, I think his best interest should have been for the child, not for, it shouldn't have been about garnering monies. And if he thought that she could potentially have a better life in North America, then he should have been on board with that. Of course, with in agreements in place that he would see his daughter in the future, because that's no issue on my, from my end. But anyway, he wasn't willing to take the ethical high road, and I guess he has his own financial situation. So it ended up working out for him, and subsequently working out for us.
Okay, well that's got to be a big relief, hey?
Yes, yeah, yeah, it is. It is. We had hoped for a family trip to Bali in the summer if the situation let up, but that's probably not going to happen after after the payout. But anyway, priorities.
Do you mind? As I understand, you don't mind to share. That's why I'm asking. Do you mind sharing how much it cost you to get him to sign off?
Yeah, there was a negotiation process. We got indications from the lawyers that we'd be looking at legal fees and situational fees, so to speak, for the powers that be, lining their pockets, I guess. We're looking at anywhere from about probably $7,000 to $10,000 to go that route.
Mhm.
So when we presented it to him, we didn't, or at least Yana didn't really present a dollar amount, but he threw out the amount of 7,000. You know, I tried to, you know, become a. I tried to do a little negotiating like I would in the bazaar in the market, and threw 5,000 back at him, and he came back with 6. So we agreed on 6. So for me, it's a substantial amount, and you know, I'm not happy having to do it, but in the long run, I think it's for the best. And also in the long run, I think I'm probably saving anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000. You know, not
And
having
so
gone
six,
there.
so so 6 for a payout, and then another 4 for legal fees, bringing a total to 10.
No. The upside is that there are no legal fees involved with this. The only legal fee was the cost for the document itself and having the document notarized, and that was just a nominal government fee for that. So
Okay, so 6 grand in total sounds like 6
it's
grand.
$6,000, yes.
Okay. So, so Josh, what? Maybe could you enlighten us? What did the lawyers present to you as options? If this didn't work, and you know, just anything that you've, you know, if you could just fill our head with whatever you've learned as to what the lawyers said about this whole process. What are the possibilities and the options?
Well, the lawyers essentially presented 3 options. One was to go the formal, the standard, above board legal route. That is, you know, filling out the necessary documents, compiling any type of financial documentation which shows that there's been no support from the ex. So obviously there's a lot of there would have been a lot of legwork involved with that, and you know, with having to go to banks and getting documentation to support that. And so there would have been those efforts, the legal fees, and the time involved with that. Once again, taking from 4 months to perhaps over a year. The second option that they presented was, once again, providing all necessary documentation, but having the lawyer talk directly with one of the authorities, so to speak, and finding a monetary way to get that authority on our side, okay? Which would probably streamline the process a little bit, but it would mean a lot of money. It would mean paying the legal fees for the lawyer, and also coming up with some sort of a payout for the authorities. And the third option that they presented was to speak to the ex. Now, from their own self-interest standpoint, they were suggesting that they do that, that they actually contact the ex and be a part of the negotiation. And of course, the reason they suggested that is because they wanted to be a part of the process and still garner their legal fees. So option 3 would have been also very substantial too, probably perhaps a little bit less than option 2. But those were the 3 options that they provided.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing that. I know when I went through this, one of the main things I learned, which you mentioned here, is that if the ex has not been paying his regular child support, which by the way is a whopping $40 per child per month, it's a flat rate in Ukraine. So I mean, if you can't even keep that up, oh my God, right? But if he hasn't been paying that $40 a month child support, which is mandatory, it makes this process much easier. And there's a fairly routine documentary process to go through to eliminate his rights, essentially. So the child can leave without him signing off on. Did you come to that as well?
Yeah, we did, and the lawyers told us that. Um, but one thing that made us a little bit nervous with regard to that is that she initially she did have to contact the ex to determine, first of all, if he would just sign the documents without any type of issue whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we had no choice, or she had no choice but to do that. The problem with doing that is it gave him an immediate heads up on what was about to happen. So at that point, if he really wanted to make things tough for her and for us, he could perhaps start sending that $40 per month her way. And once he started doing that, our understanding is that the process would have been kind of rough. If we hadn't given him any kind of heads up, then it would probably fall in line with what you described, I think.
Yeah, that's funny because I came to that same conclusion when I was in the situation. Better not to ask him, although that's what you should do, is see if he will just let the child or children go. But you lose the element of surprise, and then he'd just pay the $40 a month, and then that avenue is gone. So that was pointed out to me too. So that's one tip I have for guys, that when you're dating single moms in Ukraine, because I alluded to this in the opener, that there's a shortcut, and that is see if the father is paying that child support every month. It's a very, very easy question, and if he is not, it's a fairly administrative process. I've been told by not one lawyer, a Ukraine family lawyer, fairly administrative process, so that she can get permission to take the child out of the country and move out of the country. Basically, he loses, you can expunge his rights in that regard fairly easily. So,
Joe, this applies just to women that were married, correct? Because my understanding is that if they had, I guess, a child out of wedlock, then there's no issue pertaining to these parental rights.
I'm not sure. So what, enlighten, I never asked about that. Enlighten me. What about that?
Yeah, if the woman got pregnant, if she was in a relationship but there was no formal marriage, my understanding is that this is a moot point, that she has complete rights over the child, and if she chooses to immigrate to another country, then there's no issue whatsoever. It's only for women that have been in a marriage.
Well, thanks for that tip. That's a golden nugget tip then. I wasn't aware of that. So that's another easy way, guys. If she wasn't married, but she has a child, so then you don't have to worry about it, looks like it. And again, I just want to disclose, we're not lawyers. We're not giving legal advice. This is just based on our experience. You should always check with a lawyer, which I'll throw in a joke at this point. What's the definition of a good lawyer in Ukraine? It's not exactly a joke. It's the truth. It's a lawyer that knows who to pay to get the problem solved. That's a good lawyer in Ukraine. Not a joke. It's the dead truth about it. So, why don't we take this question? It's kind of a slam dunk. I like taking these questions on. I'm sure you won't mind as well. So James writes, so why marry a woman with kids and pay 20 grand to bring her with her ex, with the fight and all? Seems dumb. Why would you not just choose a non-single mom?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think a lot of guys on your chats have sort of asked similar questions before. It seems like a lot of folks are kind of leery when it comes to meeting a woman that's not single. But that's a personal choice, I think. If one isn't really interested in taking on the responsibilities of kind of creating an immediate family, being involved with a woman that has a child or that has children, then more power to them. That's their thing, I guess. But me personally, I had no issues with that. I just wanted to make sure that everything was good holistically from the family standpoint, and that we all got along well together, and that I saw a future for us as a unit, I guess. And for me, there was no problem with that, in terms of taking on that responsibility. Of course, it's a lot easier. I mean, from what James is asking, for some guys who are not willing to do that, of course, it's much easier to find a woman who's single and who you're not going to have those issues with. But at the same time, when you do that, depending on what your age is and what the age is of the women that you're looking at, I mean, you have to be somewhat realistic too, because if you're looking at women in their 30s to 40s, the likelihood is that they're going to have a child, or they're going to have children. So if you try to filter out those women who are in that situation, then your pool of possibilities is greatly diminished. And but once again, it's up to you. If that's something you're not willing to take on, then so be it. But for me personally, I had no issue with that. In fact, I sort of relish the opportunity to have a new family. So anyway, James, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I'll also answer the question for myself, and kind of throw a question back at you as well. So you're fairly well dated. You dated presumably single moms and single ladies, with no children.
That's correct.
What difference, if any, did you find as a generalization? And I'll share as well on that point.
Well, that's a great question. Actually, by and large, for obvious reasons, the ladies that did have a child, regardless of the age of the child, I found them to be more grounded and more mature, and more reasonable and sensible. Not to say that the single ladies were immature by any means. I mean, by and large, I find that Slavic women at younger ages, in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, from my standpoint anyway, a lot of them tend to be more, show a lot more maturity and overall understanding than a lot of North American women do. But anyway, that's a different topic. But the women with children were more reasonable, more sensible, and just probably not as impetuous, or easier to get along with. Not so many silly little issues, coming about. So.
Yeah, I completely concur with everything you said. I found single moms to be basically higher level of human development, just deeper people, more grounded, more stable, looking for attributes in a man that that was more me, like they're looking for stability, they're looking for a rock, more than as a woman that doesn't have children. She tends to be more fickle, more hypergamy can still be in play a lot more. When you marry a single mom, she's looking for stability, and she's very committed to you. You're being a father, and it just really grounds your relationship. It makes it a lot more solid, more long lasting. It has a better chance, if you want to say, of withstanding the test of time. So those are just a few of my reasons, but I think there's a plethora of reasons why single moms are the better choice. But again, depends on what the guy wants.
Right. One thing I want to add to that is that one thing guys probably have to be a little bit careful with in terms of the woman that does have children, for the reasons that you stated. They are looking for stability and a new life, and a lot of them tend to be fairly aggressive. When I say that, I mean they make it, perhaps they make your job a little bit too easy. So you really have to be careful in the beginning stages, because in many cases the relationship happens very quickly, and it happens very easily because they're looking for a man. They're looking for stability. They're looking for a new life. So in the beginning, it seems like, oh, we have this wonderful relationship. We've clicked, and everything's happening so quickly. But perhaps with some women, it's happening for the wrong reasons. So you really have to take a step back and make sure that your relationship with her is kind of based on real mutual interest and attraction and all those kind of things. And that stuff usually gets vetted out over time, the more you get into it. But I did meet a few people that wanted to move very, very quickly, and that was a bit of a red flag for me, because we didn't even know each other long enough to really establish any type of true bond. But nonetheless, they were willing to commit themselves at a very, very early stage. So guys need to be aware of that too.
Yeah, again, I completely agree. They're much more committed much more quickly. Some of them tend to be more jealous as well, if not all, but
Yes.
some tend to be, because they want to lock you down. And just frankly speaking, their opportunities are, generally speaking, less in Ukraine to find a man, because most Ukrainian men are not interested in being with a woman with a child. They don't.
Right.
They don't think they need to. There's a plethora of choice for them. So for those reasons as well. Here's a question from Shane. What do you think of this? Women are very smooth. What if you went through all this and it cost you 40, 50 grand to bring her to Canada, the States, and then after 6 months she leaves you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question from Shane, but I think after you've you put a couple of years into the relationship, and you've met multiple times, you've had ups and downs within that time frame. Hopefully you get to know what the person is really all about. I mean, if you're in a relationship and you just have rose-colored glasses on the whole time, and you're not seeing things for what they are, then yeah, maybe something like this can happen, is what Shane is pointing to. But the likelihood of being in a relationship for several years and having countless encounters and meetings with the person, and having that happen, I don't think I think they'd be marginal at best. But I mean, with that said, when you look at any relationship, whether the relationship is initiated in North America or if you're meeting someone from abroad, I mean, you can look at the statistics for successful marriages. I mean, in California, I think there's a 60% divorce rate. In America at large, and in Europe, it's in the 50s. So, I mean, you do the best you can, and you keep your fingers crossed, and you try to be as circumspect as you can in your dealings with the woman, and hopefully you can weed out the type of woman that Shane's alluding to.
Yeah, well said. And I think Dodge Mega here makes a good point, which I already made, that single moms are more committed to the relationship because they have more invested in it. You're raising their child, you're being the father, the surrogate father, stepfather, and it really glues or gels your relationship together. It provides a bond that otherwise, if you don't have the child there just isn't that same level of crazy glue in the relationship. He's saying, she's in the school system in America, your relationship is tighter. I think you also make a great point, that it takes time to really see people for their true colors. Never rush into marriage, take your time, make sure you know what's right. You really feel you've tested the waters. You feel it's the right move,
Yeah, no, I definitely concur. I think Dodge makes a great point, and that's one of the advantages, I guess, between the single woman and the woman with a child or with children, because the likelihood of a woman coming to North America with children and to have nefarious intent after that and to bounce from the relationship is pretty low, because they have to think about the well-being of the children. So I think for the most part, women with children, they're going to be looking for a decent man who can provide for both them and the child, and without circumstance and drama. So
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Question for you here. Oh, I wanted to also add that you alluded to it, but I just want to say it in the live, because I just really want this to be an exhaustive resource of options for guys. That yeah, there is the possibility of paying at the legal level for documents to make this happen. So if push comes to shove, you've tried everything else, he won't take, the ex won't take a payoff to let the children leave. There are these options within the system of Ukraine that you could basically pay to have that document and still be able to leave. So worst comes to worst, you're not completely stuck in love with a woman and you can't be together. Because I think that's every man's worst nightmare if you're going to think about dating, single mom, is that is a possibility. And I can't imagine such a nightmare. So I think that's a last resort option, but it is there. I just want to point it out. If a person digs enough legally in Ukraine, you'll come across a lawyer that will present you with that option. So there you go. It's been said. Yeah, I've got a question here for you, Josh. You're very well, seasoned veteran in the dating trenches in the former Soviet Union. So
unfortunately.
what would be your top 3 tips, for guys out there? What have you learned, and maybe even what would you do differently if you had to do it all again?
Well, I think with my experiences and the time and monies that I've invested, if I had to do it again, I would come knocking on your door and work with Match Guarantee, because I believe that I would have saved a lot financially, and from a timeline standpoint too, because I think the approach that I took in terms of doing a lot of the vetting myself, well, of course, that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. From what I understand, MG would have done a lot of that beforehand. So when I arrived in Ukraine, I could just hit the ground running, and I'd be much further ahead in terms of trying to find somebody that I was compatible with. So.
Thanks for that. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold here, and my nose is flowing. So yeah, well, thanks for that, Josh. Thanks for that very much. And then what other tips would you have? I mean, what do you think of free dating sites? You met ladies on how was that process of finding, testing and whittling away to find somebody that you think is true blue and find your diamond in the rough? Yana.
Well, overall, it was an adventure, and from that standpoint, I enjoyed it. You meet, you communicate with a lot of interesting people, and it's kind of it's a challenge trying to weed out the people that are there for not so good intent, and there were a number of those. There were a lot of I didn't meet a lot of scammers. I did meet quite a few, but there are a lot of people that were there for pretty much for their own self-interest, and there were some gold diggers there, and it's in a way it's challenging and it's fun trying to determine the good from the bad. One bit of advice I would give to the guys is that on these free sites, Once my experience has been, once you send a couple messages back and forth, and the woman immediately asks you to give up your email address because she can give you a much more descriptive a bit of information about her and send photos and all that kind of stuff. Nine times out of 10, actually in my case, 100% of the time, that led to women that were just part of a scam. Yeah, the first letter on email would be legitimate. Talking about what she does, talking a little bit about her past and her family and these sorts of things. And yeah, she'd send some nice pictures. But invariably, the second and third email would get into certain issues that she was having in her personal life. Invariably, there'd be somebody who was sick, her uncle who's been taking care of her, or her aunt who's been taking care of her from the time she was a little Dievushka is now sick, and they're incurring medical costs that no one can afford, and all this kind of stuff. They start pulling at the heartstrings, and they're trying to lead you in a direction of you sending them money. And that happened time after time after time. There's a certain sequence to it, a couple legitimate emails, and then they would start talking about these issues, or it could even be something that was affecting them personally. I did get taken by one scammer who didn't ask me for an email address. We started initially on a free site, then we went to, I think it was WhatsApp or Viber, and started chatting, and everything was going great. We chatted for about 3 weeks to a month. And then one day she came on and she started complaining about this pain in her cheek, and she was going to have to cut the chat session short because she had a lot of pain in her mouth. Came back the next day, she had gone to the dentist. The dentist said that she needed a root canal, and she said the pain was excruciating and all this. So at this point, I had already determined that she was legitimate because she was involved with me in normal chats for almost a month. So she I willingly sent monies to take care of the dentist, and I spent about $400 doing that. And we had one or two chats after that, and then she just disappeared. I couldn't reach her by any forms. I tried to call the number. I tried to reach her on Viber. Nothing. So I did a little bit of research online, and I can't remember how I did it. I might have done it with photographs. But I found out from some of the scamming sites that she had done this to several guys. She had asked them for money because of some personal problem. They sent it, and then she disappeared. So that was my one. That's my one scam tip. But
well, you did
yeah.
really well dodging a lot of bullets on those sites, because according to my scam check partner team, 90+% of the profiles on those free sites are scammers and prostitutes. So you honed quite a craft.
I mean, in a lot of cases, I began to be able to just look at the photographs and be able to tell from the type of photograph that they were sending whether or not they were legitimate or not. I mean, a lot of the women, if the photographs are very, of course, guys want to see provocative photographs, but typically, if a woman is posting provocative photographs in her profile, then 9 times out of 10, she's a scammer.
Yeah.
So I might enjoy looking at the photographs, but I would just move on and go to the next person.
Think with the big head. Exactly. Right. Here's a good question about supporting your Yana. Do you send her money to support her?
Yeah, she's working, but once in a while I do send a little bit to help out. But I send primarily for birthdays, and actually I did send a little bit recently because of Christmas and New Year's and Old New Year's and all of those holidays. Yes, I mean at this stage, we're going through a K-1 visa process, and she's my fiancé, so I have no issue sending monies to help out. So
Yeah, good job. Yeah, I'll add to that that if a guy's not supporting his lady at this stage when you're going through the K1 process, uh, I'd be surprised you get to that stage of the relationship because it's a really critical part of the Slavic woman. She needs to feel that she's being supported by her man. So as soon as you're serious, you guys consider you guys are exclusive and serious, and you feel that in your gut. That's the most important part. You feel it's mutual. She expects you to help out, yeah, to provide for her at a normal sort of level here, which would be a couple $100 a month anyway, couple hundred at least. And that's very important to building a successful relationship. It is that you show yourself as a supportive, caring man. That's a very serious point. So I wanted to ask you about, since you were married to a woman from Belarus, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And you dated, I think you said what, three or four others from Belarus?
Yes. Yeah. On the sites, I met I believe two Belarusian women.
Okay. So what I hear a lot about, wow, Belarusian women are so great. They're the best women. I've heard that countless times. So what's your take on that? Are they, what's the difference? Are they any better? Should guys go to Belarus instead of Ukraine to find their wife?
Well, just based on the numbers in terms of well, first of all, they're probably a little bit more difficult to meet because there don't seem to be quite as many of them on the sites. Of course, they are there. I see obviously a lot of Ukrainian women, a lot of Russian women, but I've found that the level of sincerity was tended to be higher with the Belarusian women. I didn't have to deal so much with filtering out scammers and others that might be there for the wrong intent. But in terms of the actual women and dealing with them, I honestly didn't find a lot of difference because I visited a couple of Belarusian women. I met one in Paris. I met one in Minsk. As far as the on-the-ground experience and their attitude, it was I didn't find a lot of differences between them and Ukrainian women. Once again, because I had already gone through the process of communicating with them for a long period of time, and I learned whether or not they were sincere or not. I find a larger difference with the Russian women, depending on where they're from. I found the Russian women to be a little bit more, I don't want to say worldly, but they kind of know what's going on. To a greater extent, and they move. Their thinking is more in line with European women, depending on what city they're from. If they're from one of the larger cities, or if they've had experiences traveling and so forth, they tend to be a little bit more westernized, I guess, especially if they're coming from Moscow or St. Petersburg. The woman that I was involved with, she was from Siberia, but she had done some traveling. She had actually spent some time in the USA. So her overall outlook was probably a little bit further ahead than a lot of the other ladies that I've met.
Okay, thanks for that, Josh.
Yeah.
So guys, I just want to tally what we've got so far. We've kind of done a soft launch so far for the Ukraine Marriage Challenge. We've got 3 guys that have volunteered to share their costs. So Josh here is a DIY guy, and then 2 match guarantee clients. So where we're at currently is 8 marriage agency. The average of 2 guys, $16,800, and 1 year of time to find their fiance, and in one case get married, one case K1. And then we have Josh here at $43,000 in total. So that's 255% more over 4.5 years. And again, you guys can go check out the spreadsheet yourself. They're right here in the description below this video, so you can go check that out. 2 tabs, agency tab and DIY tab, and we will continue to build that out as more people come forward. So again, guys, if you know anyone that's married or has made it at least to the K1 process with a Ukrainian woman, please do us a favor and share this video link with them and ask them if they would consider sharing their story with us and help us really get a grip on how much it costs do-it-yourself versus agency. And it's not just Match Guarantee, of course. It's anyway, street pickup, agency, dating sites, PPL, however they got married or engaged. We want to understand how guys that are successful out there, how they were successful, because success leaves clues. They'll be able to give us invaluable tips, as Josh did today. We can, as a community, as a tribe, share our experiences with each other and help us on this rather difficult journey to make it across the finish line. So let's see. I was just gonna maybe, if you don't mind sticking around to the end, Josh, we might have some more questions coming in. I'm just gonna play a video with Aaron's advice. So Aaron, you remember, did the street pickup in Sumy. So I interviewed him afterwards, and he has some advice for us. And I was just going to play that as we almost close this live stream out. So be right back in a few minutes.
I came here in Ukraine about a month ago, and I was looking for my other half. I wanted to come here and experience it myself. I was very confident, and I was very proud of myself. I said, well, I'm good enough to go and pull out this and do it myself. So once, as we said in the military, once the boots hit the ground and I came here, and I really experienced the streets, the nightlife, the cafe, the bar, and everything that goes along, I realized very quickly that this was a very difficult task. On a very personal note, I was 12 years single. I went through a divorce, a separation, divorce, and experience overseas and all that. All men don't have to go through all this painful solitude, long-term being single, because to be alone, it's a very risky business. You can be alone. You can be a very disciplined person. You can read. You can go to gym. You can do a lot of good things. But at the same time, there's a very narrow frontier between doing good things and bad things. A lot of my friends, they slip in the bad habits, prescription drugs, porn, a lot of meeting girls online, or quick fixes, quarantine. You fix something quickly, but it's never the real fix. As a real man, we should be real and fix the problem for good. And you should find somebody who can match your chemistry and your personality, and you should be happy with, and someone beautiful. It's okay if it's a different culture. We don't marry the culture, we marry the person. If I could give you an example, in my tradition, when there is a marriage or something very important involved in the society, the whole family is involved. The whole family, the sister, the mother, the neighbors, everybody go through a filtering process, and we try to make the perfect choice for the perfect person in order to avoid another ugly divorce or another mistake. So when we came here, we don't have those family members. We don't have the support of the friends and family to do this for us. On the top of that, the girls here, they are so different that you have to have someone of the same culture to do this job for you. And this is where the importance of the, I would say, wingman coaching team or the professional matching team that comes in the equation, and they're very, very important. Your success, I would say, solely depend on them, because you're never gonna develop the eyes strong enough to recognize all these girls, because as I said, they're all very sophisticated and beautiful, and they're all very impressive. But you need somebody here to do the job for you, to choose the right one for you. And also you have to do some significant homework on your end, which is you have to head at this in the zone of your success. That means you should not go for somebody who's half of your age. If you're overweight and broke, you should not head for somebody who is the top model. Just be realistic. Just be realistic and see how much you can offer and what you can get in exchange. And I can guarantee you one point, that whatever you're choosing here, it's going to be 10 times better than what you get in the United States. That means the girls is going to be a lot more prettier, skinnier, younger, a lot of hidden things, definitions, and personalities of these Slavic girls that we just don't know. There's not enough reading material, YouTube, or stories out there to grasp and understand the whole culture. So the best way really to taste it, to experience it, is to come here and experience it yourself. I hope this video really benefits you. I hope you're gonna learn something from my painful mistakes that I made.
Hey guys, so hope you enjoyed that clip from Aaron. Let's answer Tony's question here, because it is a good question and it's on point right now. What type of security does Match Guarantee go through to ensure that no party gets scammed? So it's a great question. It's not an easy answer. With us, it starts to, first of all, you have to give a shit. Okay, it starts there. You know, you have to be really committed to quality control with your ladies, which means at the beginning, you don't advertise. Because if you advertise as an agency, you will just get inundated with the opportunists, and you will see very quickly by the questions they ask. How much I'm going to make, what kind of gifts, what kind of percentage of translator fee do I get, and all of this kind of stuff. No, you have to only slowly build your base based on word of mouth referral, because when one of our lady clients gets married, then she tells her friends, and then each time we have a spillover effect. But then it doesn't end there. You have to do personal interviews with the ladies, and we do. Yana, she has a background in psychology, and she has 20 years of very, establishing very tricky vetting questions, so that she understands very quickly in her office when she's, eye to eye with the lady, what's her real true motives for wanting to marry a foreigner. Often there's surreptitious motives to ladies why they want to meet a foreigner, and you have to really drill down to the heart of the matter, and she's very good at it. So that's the second point. The third point, I remember asking Yana one time, I said, how do you really know that a girl is genuine? She wants genuine, love and marriage until death do you part. She wants family. And she says, well, you really truthfully only know from her dating behavior. So when she's dated one guy, we get feedback. And so we have a feedback circular loop. All men that date our ladies, they give feedback to both myself and Yana and other coaching staff. And so basically it's usually good feedback. But if there is any negative feedback, we have to deal with it. We would talk to her, talk to Yana, and come to a conclusion if it was acceptable, whatever happened was acceptable or not. And if it wasn't acceptable, if her conduct was questionable, that's it. We punt her. She's out. So, and you have to be committed to this ongoing loop of quality control. And then, so the point is, once a lady has dated, 3-4 guys or more, we understand quite clearly that she's very genuine, because we have good feedback from each guy. Okay, so hope that answers your question, Tony. And so guys, next, it'll be within the next 2 weeks. I'm sorry it's been pushed forward so much, but we're actually going to start finally our online dating scam hack op. We're going to have the kickoff. Well, you will see exactly step by step how we hacked one of the notorious, one of the biggest Goliath international PPL sites. You'll know the name when you join us and you see this live. You get to see juicy details, pictures of what they're up to, and most importantly, how you can easily do it yourself. Talk about DIY. You can DIY the ID of, your scammer girl. In other words, you will be able to, after the slick hack, which is dead simple once you see it, but you will be able to know, beyond the shadow of a doubt whether you're being scammed or not. So finally, you can put your mind at ease and sleep at night. Okay. So that's coming up within the next couple of weeks. Okay. So that's a wrap for tonight. Again, thank you very much, Josh. You were fantastic.
Hey, Joe, can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to the guys regarding the cost. Like, if you look at the spreadsheets, some guys might look at my spreadsheet and go, "Man, this dude is crazy." So much money being spent over this time period. But the way I rationalize it is that those expenses, the majority of which was travel. And in my situation, I'm going to be going on holidays anyway. I'm going to take 2 or 3 vacations each year, regardless. So whether or not, in my case, I took the vacations to meet ladies or to meet my fiance. If that hadn't been the case, I'd be going to Europe or Mexico or the Caribbean or something anyway. So I'm always going to be incurring those travel expenses. In this case, I just applied them to meeting the ladies at the same time. So because of that, I was probably spending maybe 20% more than what I would normally do. Or if I had to bring her to Mexico or to some other city in Europe, then it's going to be a little bit more expensive. The European cities aren't too expensive if she's coming out of Kiev. But just kind of keep that in mind, because unless you're sitting on your hands during your vacations in North America, you're going to be spending money regardless. So I just took that time and money and made use of it. With going abroad to meet the ladies, getting a vacation out of it, and also hopefully starting a relationship.
Thanks for clarifying, Josh. And guys, just as a final parting note, remember, Steve's coming back today, Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and he is a client of Match Guarantee that is engaged to Irina, going through the K1 process, and he's going to basically share with you what he went through in the K1 process. He considered going through the CR1 spousal visa process. With COVID, it's pretty close as to which way you should go right now, and it's not an easy decision anymore. So he's going to share, and you can ask him, all your questions. He's done a lot of research as well on this topic. So again, he'll be back on the channel solo. His first time going solo, so please support him on that. He's a real trooper. And again, thank you very much, Josh, for being so vulnerable and sharing this sensitive topic with everybody today.
It's been my pleasure. Hopefully, I've helped a few of the guys, and they won't fall into some of the same traps and negative experiences that they might have had otherwise.
Yeah, you will help a lot of guys, and it was a tricky question, and I'm glad we hopefully shed some light on it for guys, so that they're not so terrified about single moms. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, even if you hit this dark road here. Yeah. So thanks again.
It's something that should be addressed in the beginning. And if you see that she's the one and you're really keen on her, then you really need to delve in and find out what that aspect of the situation is all about before you go any further. So. Yeah,
exactly. Find out from the get-go. Yeah. Before you fall in love. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Josh. Have a great night, everyone.
See you, Joe.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
Have you been searching for a beautiful wife? Do you dream of meeting the perfect woman, but haven't found her? Well, imagine if there was a simple way this could all change for you. Imagine if there was a Canadian marriage agency that would introduce you to as many beautiful women as it takes until you find the one. Ukraine, a lost world of beautiful traditional women. At last, a place where you can find the beautiful wife you have always dreamed of. Every Ukrainian woman dreams of having a happy family. Now you can have a traditional beautiful wife from Ukraine, creating happy family memories forever. So what are you waiting for? Register right now and Skype our beautiful ladies completely free. So what makes us different, you might ask? Why not ask Google simply by searching Match Guarantee Reviews?